The Spring Day music video is a tribute to the Sewol Ferry tragedy, which happened on April 16, 2014. The ferry was on its way to Jeju Island and was holding about 500 people who consisted mostly of secondary school students who were on a field trip. The captain had taken a sharp turn to the right, causing the cargo to shift and the weight of it to tilt the ship and break part of it, allowing water to flood through. The first report was sent by one of the students to the Coast Guard and told them that the ship was capsizing. Instead of evacuating, the captain told the students to stay in their cabins and to not move.
야, 미쳤나봐. 이런 상황에서 막 그러지 않냐? 안전하니까 저만 있으라고. 그런 거 주는 거야. 지네끼리 나오고. 영어 왜다 그러잖아. 그 지하철도 그렇잖아. 안전하니까 좀만 있어달라고 했는데 지하철 있었는데.
우리 진짜로 이만큼 귀여운 거야. 진짜야 이거.
다른 사람들은 살고 이만큼
절대 이동하지 마시고 대기해주시기 바랍니다. 현재 위치에서 절대 이동하지 마시고 대기해주시기 바랍니다.
나 진짜 그런데 가판에 있던 애들은 어떻게 되는 거야?
그러니까 떨어졌을 가능성이 높다니까?
선장은 뭐 알길래?
About an hour later, lifeboats were sent to rescue the passengers. The passengers who had disobeyed the captain and had jumped into the water and climbed the ship were saved. Throughout the capsizing, the captain and crew were seen in videos, drinking beer and texting friends. The captain and the crew were the first to be saved. A few passengers broke through the windows and were able to escape. The ship took 2 hours to sink. Throughout the operation, the South Korean president was largely uninformed of the situation. When they finally reported it to her, she gave instructions to rescue everyone on board and to have no casualties. Despite having not checked the cabins and not being sure of passenger count, the Coast Guard reported that they had saved everyone and that there would be no casualties.
지금 여객선에 우리 항공 구조단이 못 내려갑니까?
아직 못 내리고 앞에 선수만 남아있다던데 지금은 내리지 못할 것 같습니다.
아까 진작 좀 내렸다고 그림이 됐어야 되는데 지금 그게 문제란 말이에요. 못 올라가면은. 우리가 올라가고 유도한 게 보여줬어야 되는데 승객들은 거의 다 나왔어요, 배에서?
예.
그러면 대부분 다 나왔다는 얘기예요? 선장에는 없다는 이야기예요?
예, 그 전부터 계속 기울이면서부터 사람이 나와 있었기 때문에
예.
내부 수색은 정확하게 안 했는데
예.
거의 다 나온 걸로 지금 확인이 되는.
그러면은 첫날 일단 사람들이 거의 없는 걸로 봐야 되네요.
예, 예.
Throughout the sinking, news channels were reporting false and varying information. At 11 a.m. on April 16th, they reported that everyone was rescued and there were no casualties. The next day, Coast Guard divers and skilled civilian divers were sent to check for bodies in a boat. The president had come out on a boat to oversee the operation and was told that they would search for air pockets and pump air into the cabins in hopes that there were still survivors. However, it was staged.
에어포켓이라도 존재한다고 하면 거기 있으면 살 확률이 있으니까요. 18일 새벽에 이제 들어가려고 했는데 그 해경에서 VIP가 와서 지켜보고 있으니까 에어 주입을 꼭 해야 된다. 어차피 잠수 장비를 확인하고 이제 들어가야 되니까 잠수 장비가 다 썩은 거예요. 너무 노후돼서 금방이라도 바로 꺼질 것 같아. 이걸 갖고 물에 들어가면 애들 살리려고 하는 게 아니라 니들이 죽겠다. VIP가 보고 있으니까 어떻게든 흉내라도 내야 된다. 들어갔는데 딱 들어가다 3분도 안 돼서 시동이 꺼져버린 거야. 컴프레셔가 송수신도 안 되는 거야. 신호했죠, 어떻게든. 신호니까 올라왔어. 에어 주입을 호스를 잘 연결했다고 하더라고요. 에어를 주입을 하려고 그러면 격실까지 다 들어가서 에어포켓이 있는 위치에다가 에어를 주입해야 맞는 거고, 그냥 에어 호스를 어디다 묶어놓고 올라온 거야. 그냥, 아니, 배 바깥에다가. VIP가 와서 지켜보고 있으니까 에어 주입 성공했다는 또 얘기를 해야 될 거 아니에요. 그러니까 그 쇼를 또 하더라고.
Several scuba divers died during the operation and about 300 bodies were found dead, most of which were school children. Overall, 172 people were successfully rescued. 304 people died from the sinking. 9 of those people's bodies were never found and presumed dead. 254 of these people were students.
고위 공무원들한테 묻겠습니다. 저희는 그 당시에 생각이 다 나요. 잊을 수 없고 뼈에 삼치는데 사회 지도층이신 고위 공무원께서는 왜 모르고 왜 기억이 안 나는지.
The captain and the 3 crew members were later sentenced to jail for murder, and 11 other crew members were indicted for abandoning the ship. An arrest warrant was issued for the owner of what operated the Sewol, but he was nowhere to be seen despite a nationwide manhunt. His dead body was later found in a field. The president was later discovered to have tried to censor those who commemorated the Sewol tragedy in their artwork, along with creating an illegal blacklist. Civilians lashed out, and the president was impeached on March 10, 2017. The accident can be narrowed down and blamed for an inexperienced crew, lax laws, illegal modifications to the ferry, and laziness. The Spring Day music video is theorized to be a tribute to the Sewol Ferry accident and also criticizes the South Korean government and society for their poor operations and how they handled the situation. The characters in the music video can be seen as the survivors of the ferry accident. Taeyong in the beginning can be seen lying on train tracks, seeming to commit suicide. This represents the guilt of the survivors and everyone involved. After the incident, the vice president of the school of which the students came from committed suicide. Several scuba divers also committed suicide from the trauma. Even the other passengers who survived felt guilty for those who were left behind. Jungkook is looking sad outside a window, and Jimin is sitting in front of the ocean, perhaps remembering his peers who died on the ferry. During Namjoon's rap part, he references Snowpiercer, which is a science fiction film from 2014. In the movie, a plan to counteract global warming leaves the Earth in an ice age. Only the passengers of the train Snowpiercer were known to be kept alive. On the train, those who were privileged sat in the front of the bus, while the underprivileged lived in brutal conditions in the back of the bus. Even though the society inside the bus was unfair, there was no hope outside, so they began to revolt. In the music video, Namjoon is seen walking from the back of the bus towards the front. In this case, the bus can represent the South Korean society where young people are in the back of the bus and older people and authorities sit in the front. Just like how the crew of the ferry neglected the students and were rescued first. Namjoon then walks into a building labeled Omelas. The Ones Who Walk Away from Omelas is a novel written by Ursula Le Guin. The novel is about a fairy tale town which has no socio or political structuring and is constantly happy. It is revealed that the happiness of the town is dependent on the eternal suffering of a single child. When teens become aware of this, most accept it because that means they get to have happiness. However, some people, older and young, leave the town never to return. The narrator claims to not understand why these people leave, but explains that they always seem to know where they are going. Namjoon walks into Melas and finds himself in the front of the bus, representing that the front is ignorant and happy despite there being people suffering in the back. The no vacancy sign in the front clearly sends the message that the privileged is unwilling to accept those who are underprivileged. When Namjoon opens the door into a room, the members begin throwing things at him. The scene seems happy, but Namjoon is clearly annoyed. The scene is reminiscent of a scene in Snowpiercer where the rebels are seemingly welcomed by the front bus before being attacked. Next, you can see Jin standing at the top of a staircase, looking up at the other members. Jin can represent one of the victims of the ferry tragedy who died before they could grow up and climb the stairs like everyone else. The other members still look down at him every once in a while, reminding themselves of the peers they lost in the accident. Jin makes a camera symbol with his hands, similar to how the students took videos as soon as they noticed the shift in the boat in order to document it to their families. Jungkook is standing in front of a rundown carnival ride, symbolizing the loss of childhood for the victims and the loss of innocence for the survivors. The survivors continue on with their lives, but something always seems like it is missing. They continue to remember their past. Jimin seems to pick up a pair of shoes which drifted onto the shore, perhaps the belonging of one of the victims of the accident. He takes them with him and handles them tenderly, bringing the memories of the victims with him. Clothing can represent the souls of those who wear them. In this scene, the boys are washing the clothes, or recounting the memories of who they lost. Jimin seems to stare at the machine, and Jin does too. On the machine is a sticker which says, "Don't forget." Inside the machine, clothing is twirled around by the water. As Sewol had been sinking, some students were able to break through the windows, but others failed, water filling the room as they punched at the window. The machines can be seen as the windows of the ship. The angle of the camera tilts, reminiscent of how the ship tilted. Jin then sees himself in the machine, as even the survivors left a part of themselves behind and were changed forever. Yoongi is seen sitting on top of a huge pile of clothes. This is similar to a sculpture created by Christopher Boltanski, where he made a huge pile of clothes and stated each piece represented a person. A crane, representing God, dropped the clothes onto the pile, which can be seen as the afterlife. The same thing applies to the pile Yoongi is sitting on, except the lives are that of the ferry accident. Seen on the ride behind Jungkook are yellow ribbons, which represented hope and solidarity after the accident. People dressed in yellow demanded change from the government. Students across the country tied yellow ribbons to the fences of schools and on trees. Even the quick people moving around Jungkook are antsy for change. Jungkook decides to do something, and so he took the same path that Namjoon took before. He ran through it, looking for hope and looking for other people to help him. He seemed to be alone, but he kept running. Eventually, he sees people join him, and he realizes that he isn't alone in his endeavor. This scene also ties in with the message of the album, "You Never Walk Alone." Then the boys take an abrupt stop as they realize that no matter how much they demand change, they will never get the victims' lives back. It is in the past now, and nothing will ever change that, and they mourn for their loss. They also realize that even though they are gone physically, their memories still exist in their hearts, and that as long as they remember them, the victims will live on forever. As the train passes, we can see a pile of clothes outside. This represents a hope outside of a horrible society. In the movie Snowpiercer, it is assumed that no one could exist outside the train, and thus they were trapped inside the hellish train. However, in one scene, a snowflake appears. A snowflake cannot be created in a frozen climate, hinting that the world is warming up and that there is hope for life outside of the train. In this case, the pile of clothes is a snowflake, hinting that there is hope outside of the horrible society. In the song, they sing about snowflakes falling from the sky. Jungkook opens his eyes and sees his friends beside him. They all look content, as if they know where they are going. Jimin then opens the door and greets the icy world outside. He invites us along with him. In the background, we can see how the back of the train had broken off from the front, and its passengers were walking away from it. Within the icy new world, there is a tree, which represents life and hope for them as they leave the train and the society. Finally, we see the sun rising in the background, heating up the ground. Jimin places the shoes tied on the tree, which is done in some cultures when children die. Spring Day was largely written by Kim Namjoon, or RM, of BTS. The song won Song of the Year at the Melon Music Award in 2017. The song is currently at 41 in the Korean Billboard charts as of July 17th and has been in the charts for over a year. Thank you for watching this video, and thank you BTS for creating this beautiful tribute for the lives who were lost and those who were affected. Bye. the Sewol Ferry accident.